UFC parts ways with 5 fighters: Felipe Dos Santos, Viviane Araújo, Jordan Vucenic, Angelusa, and Trevin Giles. Dos Santos lost his last fight to Lonnie Kavanagh. Araújo recently lost to Tracy Cortez. Vucenic lost to Chris Duncan in his last fight. Angelusa recently lost to Phil Rowe. Trevin Giles lost his last fight to Mike Malott. He was supposed to fight in May against Andreas Gustafsson, but he pulled out of that fight. Now he's out of all fights in the UFC. He's no longer on the roster. Ex-Turner executive takes over as the new PFL CEO. Ellen DeGeneres will look to add some spark to the organization. Eddie Pimblett was critical of Charles Oliveira's game plan against Topuria, and Oliveira's critical of his own game plan or not executing the game plan. I would change everything about my performance, is what Oliveira says. Everything I trained, I didn't put into practice. I didn't do anything I trained for. Game plan was to hit and get out, knee stomps, maintaining distance with front kicks, a lot of calf kicks, not standing still. As soon as the fight started, I stood still taking his shots. I think if I maintained distance, moving my hands, working with the front kicks, working the stomps, trying to take him down, it would have been a completely different fight. Couple fight announcements. Neil Magny is going to be taking on Zaleski Dos Santos, UFC Vegas 108 August 2nd. Fares Ziem is going to be taking on Caio Fernandez, UFC Paris September 6th. So Ziem has home cage advantage that one. He's coming off a win over Mike Davis. Fernandez is coming off a victory over Guram Kutataladze. He looked good in that fight. His striking looked exceptional. Nate Landwehr fighting in his home state of Tennessee this weekend, coming off a loss to Du Ho Choi. He's fighting Morgan Charrier. Landwehr's the underdog, but he often does perform well as an underdog, puts on a constant pace and pressure that helps him win rounds 2 and 3.
Good old-fashioned brawl. Yeah, I mean, I haven't fought locally in Nashville since my first fight. My first fight was at the Municipal. So now we're at the Bridgestone. It's going to feel like a fight. About to get into some trouble. About to get into a rumble. And hopefully my fans will be just crazy. A bunch of people reached out for tickets, but the best part is, like, I don't get to catch that flight home. I might even be able to sleep in my bed that night, you know, just depending on how it goes. And then putting in that work, getting the weight down, and just focusing, ready to go to war. And I broke my hand pretty good, so that's why I've been out. But as soon as that thing was healed, I was like, UFC, you know, then I see Nashville coming out, so I was like, wow. No brainer. I'm on the Nashville. I knew I was fighting on this card before they even. And I'm excited. You don't want to put that pressure on you, but it got a good fight written all over it. I hope it's something that we could look back on and have some great video footage. And I'm trying to finish this man. He was Cage Warrior champion. I'm an M1 champion. So it's like 2 champions. There are other good promotions going at it in the UFC. Can't wait. Yeah, something about being on home soil.
Calvin Kattar fighting Steve Garcia this weekend. He's looking to get started a bit quicker in this fight. With Garcia, he's super aggressive, so he probably doesn't even have to worry about that. Kattar's lost 4 in a row. He wants to snap that losing streak, and Steve Garcia has 5 wins in a row, all by KO, so Kattar's looking to stop that streak as well.
And just got to get started a little earlier, you know, just kind of use that, like, maybe later pace, that 5-round fight still. Tough the way the last few of them went, but you know, just being able to cut off the cage a little bit better when these guys decide to get on their bikes and just run around, you know, being able to corner them a little bit better. Other than that, each time you step in there, you got to kind of reset. Even off a win, I wouldn't really be focusing on the last fight. Through experience and working at it, you know, it's just like any other skill. You try to develop it, and Micah, the mental coach here, he's a great asset and tool. Shout out to UFCPI for housing him and having him for all the athletes and the athletes that are smart enough to take advantage. But yeah, just through experience and realizing that nothing behind you is really going to serve you. So just kind of focusing on putting in the work every day, and honestly, also that Bill Belichick, you know, Tom Brady Patriots mindset, even though it's a little bit, you know, past these days, but, you know, I grew up with it where they were always on the Cincinnati. They were on to Cincinnati, you know. I keep that mindset every time I step in there and just focus on the things I can control. Aggressive, great fighter. You know, he's done what he's had to do with his opponents. He's doing his thing right now. He's got a lot of momentum, and we both got some streaks going in this fight. And on Saturday, my plan is to go out and put an end to both. That he hasn't been tested against, you know, I feel like the higher up you climb, the harder it gets, and each checkpoint, you know, you kind of reevaluate where you're at. And for me, you know, I think we're at a crossroads where, you know, he's on his way up, and people might be counting me out because of my last performances. But I think it's going to make for a hell of a fight because, you know, I don't see myself on my way out. You know, I think I got something to prove. I got a chip on my shoulder. When I get my hand raised, it's not by submission. You know, if I'm going to win in a finish, you know, so that'd be nice. But at the end of the day, just me getting my hand raised and then enjoying some Nashville fried chicken.
Chris Curtis drops down to 170 this weekend. He's going to be taking on Max Griffin. He felt undersized at 185. At 170, he'll feel fine in terms of size, and he feels he can take the punches from 170-pounders a lot better.
One of those, it wasn't anything recently that happened, per se. It's when we got signed to the UFC, we got signed to 85, which is upper weight class. I've been fighting most of my career at 70. I fought everywhere from 70 to heavyweight, but my home was 70. We got signed to 85. And turns out I exceeded everyone else's expectations and my own. We did way too well. So we always said we're going to get signed, we drop down, whatever. But I did well, and I enjoyed not dying all the time. So we stayed at 85. Did really well at 85. But once you start getting higher up in the rankings, it's not just like how good the guys are. Physicality becomes an issue. And I've never, you know, I'm 205 pounds. Like fighting at 185, you got guys who are 220, 230. You can't bridge that gap. Like that's maybe some people can, I can't. Like I couldn't. So after the last one, you know, we thought about it before the fight, and I was like, you know, telling myself like it doesn't go my way. I think maybe it's time that like I actually go back to 170. I'm very fortunate, man. I've trained 7 days a week pretty much for the last 15 years. I've always been pretty consistent, and like, you know, Sean over here says, I hate myself, so I train every day. But the work to get back to 70 it feels normal. So why not? Like, why? I've always said that my goal in this was to see how far I could go. And at 85, I think we've seen how far I can go, but I don't want to end my career not knowing, like, you know, was there a level I could reach beyond what I was doing. 85 is just full of giants who are weird. Well, 170 is full of like smaller guys who are fighting. I think it's a lot more action in the fights at 170, so it's very exciting. Stylistically, I think I'll just have more fun there. Like I'm not gonna have to chase down giants to make them fight me. I think welterweights kind of want to scrap more. So the biggest thing trying to get everything back on track and rolling is just confidence, man. Like it's every fight at 185 I've gone into, and it's the first time in my career that I'm not really thinking about, okay, like, you know, I'm going to go out here and scrap. My first thoughts always, when I get that fight announcement comes in, is how big is he, and what am I going to do to make up for my size difference? Like, it's always the first thing I think about, is like, how big is this guy? Like, what am I going to have to do? At 70, you know, I'm never going to be tall. I'm 5'10". It's just, the universe knew if I was like 6'1", I'd be a fucking monster. So like they made me 5'10". But at 70, even when I'm shorter, I know I'm strong. I'm strong. I'm fast. Like I feel, you know, it's where I've always been. It's where I was most comfortable. So I think being able to lose that fear and that doubt of, you know, how am I, like, what do I have to do to beat you? How am I going to bridge that size gap? And Max Griffin, I was very excited. It's like two old unks fighting at the cookout. Like we're both like almost 40. Like we've been around for a long time. We both fought a lot of people, everybody under the sun. For me, it's just funny. Like, you know, we're not out here fighting some 20-year-old. It's like two drunk uncles at a cookout. I'm very excited about that.